Hello, product people, and welcome to Product Chat, where you and I gather together to talk about everything you're interested in about product management. Today, we'll be answering, what does a product manager actually do? The eternal question. So grab a seat and let's jump right in. Like any product manager should, I'll start with the why. Why does a product manager exist? In short, the product manager is the person responsible that the company solves real problems and meets customer needs. While a product manager depends heavily on other people, they're actually not a people manager. What they manage is the product, specifically the problem that a product solves. So what do I mean by addressing the problem? The first and most critical part of this is that the product manager is the voice of the customer. They understand not just what the customer wants, but what they need, and they create a strategic product vision based around this need. Then they work with other teams to execute on this vision. Let's talk a little bit about the different teams the product manager interfaces with. The product manager ties closely with three key aspects of the business: business-facing, customer-facing, and technology-facing. On the business side, that's usually represented by executives that understand the goals of the company, like how much revenue they're targeted to earn, or what direction the company is moving in overall. On the user side, the product manager typically works with teams like marketing, sales, customer care, user experience, and so forth to intake and identify the different needs of the customer. This should hopefully be the largest driver of your product vision. On the technology side, that's usually engineers that help understand what is feasible and possible and help to actually build the product itself. It looks differently at different companies, but the product manager typically sits in their own organization that has an equal relationship with all of those. They intake and balance the need between these different groups to create a product that's valuable for both the business and the customer. That usually means it has three aspects. Number one, usable and hopefully delightful to the customer. Number two, it brings value to the business in the form of something like revenue or brand equity or another business goal. And finally, it's feasible. So that means it can actually be accomplished with the technology and resources available. Alright, so now we've learned that the product manager identifies a customer need and solves it by creating a feasible, valuable, and usable product. So how do they actually go about doing this? The answer is, the product manager is the one that drives the product development process. The product development process is a long and multi-step process. It might last months or even years, and so I'll walk you guys through just the highest level of it. It's really important to understand what the product development process is, because this is really the core of what you'll be doing as a product manager. This is the process that you'll be driving to deliver value to your company. So stay tuned. Let's say you're the product manager for this particular product. First, you would start in the scope, strategy, and planning phase. In this phase, you want to understand your users. What kind of needs do they have? What kind of pain points are they running into? And how can you identify one of those needs to solve? You want to create a painkiller and not a vitamin, which means there's something that can drastically improve in their experience and make their life better. Next, you'll need to understand the competitive landscape in the market. What are other competitors out there doing? Are they also targeting the same need as you? And how are you going to stand out and be different from them? You'll also need to develop a business strategy. What kind of business models or monetization strategies fit with the kind of product you're creating so that you can grow it and deliver value to the business over time? After you've identified a compelling customer need, scoped out the competitive market, and created a business strategy that fits with your product, now it's time to move into the design and discovery phase. This is my personal favorite phase of the development process. I think it's a ton of fun. So in most software companies, the design and discovery phase is closely tied with the prototyping and realization phase. At this point, you want to take that strategy and vision that you said earlier and see how you would create a user experience that can deliver on this. So you might start with a persona of a user. A persona is kind of like the ideal customer for your product that would benefit from that need that you're solving. And then you can create wireframes to understand what the experience would be like with each step along the way of using your product. So a wireframe is kind of like a quick sketch of a piece of the experience. And then you can choose the best wireframe to create a prototype. A prototype is a way to have an almost fully designed product without actually having to build it. What that lets you do is take this prototype to customers and see that it's actually meeting the need that you thought that it would. That way, you can test and validate with real customers, hone the product into higher and higher fidelity until you feel confident that it meets that product vision that you set in the beginning. It's also important to understand that this prototype that you've created and this vision that you've set is actually possible to accomplish with the technology and resources that you have. Once you've validated that with engineers and you feel confident about your product vision and prototype, it's time to begin rallying the team around the future product that you will create. Alright, you've created a vision, you've made an amazing prototype, and you've tested and validated it with users so you know it's going to be a hit. Now you finally get to go into the execution phase and work with engineers to create the real product that you will bring to market. While the engineering team is working hard at building out your product, you'll also want to define your go-to-market strategy. That means working with teams like sales and marketing to understand what are the features of this product and how can we communicate out to the world in a way that they understand the value that we bring. It will also be really important to create your success metrics. So a success metric might be something like a daily active user count or how much revenue or units you want to sell, but it's a way to understand, did you actually succeed on meeting that vision that you set out to do? This might also tie with numbers related to acquisition or retention of users. Don't forget, there will be nobody reporting to you throughout this process, so it is extremely important to build strong rapport and strong trust with everybody else on your team so that they buy into this product vision and product strategy as much as you do. Now it's 3, 2, 1, blast off! Congratulations, you have launched your first product. That is so amazing. But I'm sorry to say your work is not yet done. There's actually a lot more to do, and it might just be getting started. Especially for a software product, the launch is just the beginning of an ongoing relationship with your customer that can last years, and you want to build trust and you want to continue to improve and evolve over time. So that means once the product is in market, you begin to collect data, track performance, and see, does it meet the success metrics that you set out, and where can you change and pivot it to make sure that it's evolving and growing. Being able to build long-term, resilient products is critical to a product manager's success. You want to look at the success metrics and the data that's coming in from real users and validate that it's really meeting the needs the way you expected it. If not, and it will never be perfect, you'll need to pivot and adjust the product to continue to evolve and grow it over time. Alright, that was the speedy fast version of the product development process that a product manager drives to meet their goals. At this point, you should be able to answer the question of, what does a product manager actually do? Let's say it together. In short, a product manager drives the product development process to create a usable, valuable, and feasible product and grow it. Now that I said it, it actually seems pretty clear-cut. So why is there so much confusion about this role? This is mainly because of how much it varies between different companies. That's based on a lot of factors, but one big one is company size. For example, if you're at a small, tiny startup, you'll be deeply integrated with every step of the product development process, and you might be even executing on some parts of it yourself. For example, you might create your own marketing plan or even write lines of code. On the other hand, if you're at a large company, you'll be much further back from the execution of each stage of that process, and you might even become hyper-specialized into a particular area. For example, a technical product manager is most closely tied with the feasibility aspect of a product, and they work really closely with the engineering team, more so than other teams. Thanks to this specialization, there's actually a ton of different subgroups of PM, such as technical product manager or product marketing manager, and so forth. So I'll actually make another video covering these different types of PMs. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. The role also varies a lot depending on what industry that you're in. For example, if you're a product manager at a software company, your day-to-day headspace will be really different than if you're a product manager for, say, a sports company working on the latest shoes. Finally, it also varies a ton based on which phase of the product development process you're in. For example, if you're in the planning and strategy phase, you'll be thinking very big picture, high level, sort of what's the strategic approach. On the other hand, if you're in the execution phase, you might be spending your day managing bugs or looking through technical tasks that need to be executed and thinking very much about what's here and now and how can we get out the door. So all that is to say that no product management role is exactly the same. If you're looking for a product management position, it's important to assess the size of the company, the industry that it's in, and ask other product managers and hiring managers how they see the product management role fitting into their organization. Then it will be up to you to understand how your unique skills and talents fit into the perfect role that you're looking for. And that's it! Thank you so much guys for joining me for today's video, and I hope you learned at least one thing about what a product manager does. Let me know if anything surprised you or is different than what you thought a product manager does. Also, join me and subscribe for next week's video on product management versus project management. Thanks again, and see you next time on Product Chat.